right, hi, hello, welcome back to Unqualified Analysis. We got a loaded episode today. So loaded that this is probably going to get split up into two. We'll see where we're at after the headlines. But today, obviously, I'm your host, Caleb. You can find me on the Twitters down there in the lower right hand corner there. That's the at CalebVUA on the Twitters. That's where I'm most active, so go ahead, follow me there for any sort of menial updates to the show. I tweet out the episodes when they go out when I remember to do so. That's probably about the best I can do for you right now. However, today, in lieu of a fun fact to start us off here, I'm going to get you a quote from Twitter. This is a tweet per Craig Morgan on Twitter. I believe that's at Craig S. Morgan on Twitter. This is starting of his tweet. Quote, Cardinals coach Jonathan Gannon and several members of the staff did a deep dive on the concept of momentum, apparently going back to wars in the 1800s. After that research, does momentum exist? Gannon, quote, perhaps. I have no idea. There you go. There you go. That's the definitive answer on momentum right there. So welcome back to the show. Preseason is fully underway. Boy, oh boy. You can smell the football in the air, folks. You can smell it in the air. We are on the precipice of something great, and that something great is football season. So I got a ton of headlines for you. Got the NFC South, no, NFC South preview. We did AFC South last week. Don't want to be backtracking on all that sort of stuff. So yeah, got that going for you. Got the headlines. We got so many headlines. What I'm almost certainly going to do is break this up into two episodes. Got the headline episode coming out on Tuesday as you're listening to this, and you just wait till Thursday. I will have a brand spanking new division preview, marking the halfway point. The dog is just clawing the door. So I guess I'll let her in for a second. What's up, pup? I ain't leaving you. This isn't a portal to a new dimension here. How you doing, dog? How you doing? Okay. You satisfied? All right. Good. So yeah, what I'm going to do, I'll split this thing up into two episodes. We got the NFC South preview coming out on Thursday, and we got headlines episode today. So without further ado, let's get into said headlines here. So let me just go ahead and delete this real quick so I don't come back to it later. That's just a great quote. That's just a great quote from Jonathan Gannon. I hope he succeeds because he is so delightfully weird. Just a strange human being. And I want to see more press conferences from him. Because he seems like the fun type of awkward. He seems like a weird nerd type of awkward. Unlike Deshaun Foster over at UCLA, who when asked for opening remarks, he said, and I quote, and there you go. That was a lot of his statement to begin his first Big Ten media days at Big Ten media days. His first one as a UCLA head coach. He didn't just sit there silently. That was, I would say, a large majority of what his statement was. He also said, well, UCLA, USC, we're both in LA. I'm adding in the hand motions for added effect there, but that was essentially the gist of his opening remarks there at UCLA or Big Ten media days. Words are hard sometimes, folks. Words are hard. Long day at work. Your boy's brain is mush as per usual. What else is new? What else is new? So outside of that, let's just dive into this whole thing, shall we? We have got, just a jam-packed slate of headlines here. So starting off with the biggest news of the week. No, I am not talking about Kamala Harris stepping into Joe Biden's shoes in the election. We're talking about football here. No one gives a shit about all that other stuff. Who cares? Who cares about the presidential election? Nobody. Not a single person. Did you even know that Joe Biden dropped out of the race? Pfft, come on. Don't be silly. Don't be silly with all that. So, biggest news of the week, obviously, coming from giant words, coming from giant QB extensions from a couple teams that we saw this coming from, and one not yet. That we are assuming is going to happen at some point, but the longer this draws out, the less and less it seems likely. So, Tua and Jordan Love went back-to-back with massive extensions. First and foremost, Tua Tagovailoa got a 4-year, $212.4 million extension. 167 of that is guaranteed with the Dolphins. Fun fact, he's about to make more than Dan Marino's career earnings on a per-year basis. I believe Dan Marino's career earnings were like $51 million, and Tua's yearly annual salary is a little shade over $53 million. So it's good to be a quarterback in the year 2024. That's what that is all to say. Especially since, I mean, if Dan Marino played now, Buddy might be getting like $60 million a year. I mean, he was incredible. So yeah, good to be a quarterback right this second. And right after that, then Jordan Love came back a few hours later, I mean, probably like 3-4 hours later on Friday, and one-upped him with a 4-year, $220 million contract. Only 155 of that guaranteed, but essentially, so long as nothing terrible happens or, he doesn't completely fall apart, he's going to make every cent of that $220 million, and just like that, that is the, that's it. Dak is the only QB waiting for a new deal. And he might be waiting a while, man. I mean, he put out some comments in the media last week when talking about the contract situation. He said, hey, I want to stay here. But you look around at the other great quarterbacks, and it seems like they've moved around a little bit. Unsure of what he's talking about necessarily, because the only quarterbacks we've seen move around who were great were Aaron Rodgers at the age of 39 and Tom Brady at the age of 67 or whenever he went over to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Outside of that, I mean, elite quarterbacks don't leave their teams. I mean, Lamar Jackson straight up, demanded a trade for whatever that's worth. Obviously nothing, because he still signed an extension with the Ravens coming off of that franchise tag. I mean, basically, you look at all the quarterbacks that were in this past cycle to get re-upped. I mean, Tua signs a big extension. That was probably the most likely one to kick the can down the road and ultimately let him go to free agency. That didn't happen. Trevor Lawrence signed a massive deal. Jordan Love just signed a massive deal. You go back even farther, Joe Burrow signs a massive deal. Even farther than that, Josh Allen signed a massive deal. So this is some big time cope from Dak Prescott, and I love him to death. Greatest Mississippi State player of all time. In no small part, the reason why I went to Mississippi State back in the beautiful year of 2015. Boy, I did not realize what the good old days were. Looking back on them now, that was the days. That was the days right there. Just painting up the chest, standing in the front row at Mississippi State. That is all to say, though, I love Dak Prescott. I respect the hell out of Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott has done a lot for me in my personal life. Sports life. Not really personal life. He's not giving me money, though. If he wants to spot me $1 million, I ain't paying him back. I mean, it's a pure charity thing. But maybe he can write that off on the taxes at the end of the day. I'm open to that sort of thing. Dak, call me. If you're listening to this, call me. Your boy could use a cool $1 million. I know you just got it sitting there, just wondering what to use it for. Use it on a charitable cause. Give it to me. I'll put it to good use. I promise. Absolutely promise. Look at this face. This is a trustworthy face right there. You already know. This is a trustworthy face. But yeah, he said, you look at all the great quarterbacks around the league, they're always, not always, but they've moved to different teams. Maybe he's just looking at Kirk Cousins, which probably the most apt comparison, I would say. He's better than Kirk Cousins, but play style wise, not all too dissimilar at the end of the day, especially when you look at the flaws in each one's game. I digress on that front, though. Outside of that, he said, I'd love to be in Dallas. At the end of the day, though, maybe it's in the cards that I move. Maybe one day I won't be here anymore, which that's just, Dak Prescott, if nothing else, has been an assassin at the negotiating table. This kind of just continues that trend. You remember, he played hardball with the Cowboys for a long, long time. You knew the deal was going to get done coming off of his rookie deal. You just didn't know when. And ultimately, he gets, 4 years, $160 million, kicks the can down the road to the next contract extension, which, lo and behold, we're there. We're there, baby. Also, very important to note, there was a no franchise tag clause in that deal that he signed back when he signed that $160 million extension. So I mean, you can't franchise the guy. You have to sign him into an extension or he's going to free agency. And honestly, I have zero clue why the Cowboys are messing around with this outside of the fact that they have a couple big contracts coming up. CeeDee Lamb, most notably. We'll talk about him in just a minute. He's making some noise at Cowboys camp. Micah Parsons, right around the corner on that extension as well. I believe he's eligible for an extension this coming offseason, if I'm not mistaken. So big contracts are coming down the pipe. I could see why maybe you'd want to, kick the can down the road. But when you have a quarterback like Dak Prescott, who is, I mean, fairly undisputably a top 10 quarterback. I mean, just based on what he does within a game, at the line of scrimmage, all that sort of stuff. Maybe the smartest, what would you call it, play caller at the line of scrimmage? Something along those lines. A guy that can look at the defense, change the play to something that is a lot more favorable for the look that he's getting, all that sort of stuff. He's a stud between the ears. And that's the type of guy you don't mess around with playing a hard ball, hard to get, all that sort of stuff, because the price tag's only going to get more expensive. And then you look up maybe next offseason, and you're going to be out of a quarterback. Someone else is going to pay him all of that money because they see him as the missing piece for their continued success. And now you're right back to the drawing board. You pissed away all that good luck you had when you drafted Dak Prescott in the 4th round way back in the day. Now you got to go back to the well again. Hey, maybe Trey Lance works out. You never know. At this point, he hasn't gotten a whole lot of time to play, so maybe learning behind Dak Prescott, under the tutelage of Mike McCarthy, as we all know, that's as good as gold. It's worth its weight in gold, whatever the weight is. Maybe it's the weight of Mike McCarthy himself. But I digress on that front as well. Maybe he steps in. Wouldn't count that as a great plan as is. But you can't mess around with this contract. You got to give Dak his money. Now, granted, you have to give CeeDee Lamb and Micah Parsons their money, which part of why this is probably a little bit complicated for the Cowboys brass over there. But you can't mess around with this contract. First and foremost, you got to get the quarterback locked up, and then you can worry about the rest from there. But you have to get the quarterback locked up. It is an imperative at this point that you give Dak some sort of extension. The price tag, I mean, is about as expensive as it has ever been. And it's going to continue to go up as more quarterbacks sign extensions. I mean, lucky for him, there's no real big-time guys that are coming up, I don't think, for new extensions. So, not lucky for him, lucky for the organization, for the Cowboys. But I don't see a whole lot of merit in continuing to kick this thing down the road. Just don't mess with it. Give the man his deal, and then start working on other stuff, because you don't mess around when you have a good quarterback like that. It costs a whole lot, but when you got a quarterback like that and you're far from guaranteed to get a high-quality draft pick, it's probably for the best. I mean, seeing especially that Dak Prescott in his prime, to go ahead and pay that man his money. But that's my 2 cents on it. Jordan Love is going to terrorize my nightmares for the next 15 years, so I'm looking forward to that. Tua Tagovailoa, we'll see. We'll see. They paid him all that money, so he's their quarterback. Is he going to be the anchor that holds them down? That's the real question. I think we'll find out a lot about that in this coming season, so we'll stay tuned for that one. Boy. Football's right around the corner, folks. Football's right around the corner. We're going to find out a lot of answers, to a lot of different questions. Your boy is just vibrating with excitement over here. It's just, football season's almost back, folks. It's almost back. All right, so we got some holdout news. Hassan Reddick is expected to hold out at Jets training camp, and he did not report, so he is, in fact, holding out of Jets training camp until he gets a new contract, which he has been seeking all off-season. This is a bigger deal than I gave it credit for. I didn't realize that when he was traded to the New York Jets that he was seeking a new deal. Hand up. That's some bad host shit right there. That's something I definitely should know. But now that we know, we take that into account, and it makes a lot more sense why he was not there at mandatory minicamp over the course of the offseason. Big factor in this, though, and we've talked about this basically every year when there's a guy holding out. A little bit different, though, so let me explain it. Every day that Hassan Reddick misses from camp, he loses $50,000. He is fined $50,000 for every day that he misses from camp. That's why you see a lot of guys hold in. You saw Jordan Love do it at the beginning of last week, coming into the facility, but Brian Gutekunst came out. He didn't even let Jordan Love get to the podium, which is what, I mean, great organizations do this. They tamp down the story before it even becomes a story. He gets on the podium, says, hey, he's not practicing until we get a deal done, and then leaks in some back channels that, hey, we're going to get this deal done at some point this week, sometime in the coming days. So minor inconvenience, minor bump in the road. He's not practicing until we get the deal done, though, and this is mutually agreed upon. You're seeing the same thing with Tristan Wirfs right now down there in Tampa Bay. They're working on a massive record-breaking extension for that star offensive lineman they got, Tristan Wirfs, and he's not practicing while they're negotiating the deal. This kind of stuff happens all the time, but in Hassan Reddick's case, he decided to play a little bit of hardball, and as a result, part of this new CBA, mandatory $50,000 fine. And the biggest thing here is those fines cannot be forgiven. They are on the books. That is coming out of the paychecks no matter what. Now, within the negotiations of the new deal, if they do come to a new deal, would I be surprised to see just a magical number plopped on top of that is just conveniently the exact amount of money that Hassan Reddick would have had to pay in fines? No, that wouldn't surprise me at all, because that just seems like a great way around that sort of thing. And it seems like if you're looking to build a relationship long term, it's a good, like, hey, you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours sort of thing. We'll throw those fines on top. Don't even worry about it. They'll keep getting extracted from your paychecks, but don't even worry about it. It's taken care of within the contract. It's priced in, if you will. So I wouldn't be surprised to see that at all. That probably is the way that it's going to turn out. But big story in Jets camp. I mean, overshadowing Aaron Rodgers coming back, having a little back and forth with Garrett Wilson on the sidelines. You'd love to see some fire over there. Trouble in paradise, maybe. We'll find out here in a month or so once the season starts up, as I vibrate in excitement once again. But this is a big deal. This is one to follow. Worth noting, so that's why I put it in here. They don't necessarily need Hassan Reddick in the building, but it never hurts to have a consistent, anywhere from 14 to 18 sack a year sort of guy, an elite pass rusher in this league. No question about that whatsoever. And this thing stretches to the regular season, which I doubt it will. My best guess is that this will kind of stretch for a period, and then if they don't get anything done, Hassan Reddick will report at some point in the coming weeks or so. But it's going to be interesting to see how this hovers over the Jets training camp until some resolution does eventually come to the fore, one that we'll be following here as we go along. Maybe not talking about it on the show too much, but we'll be sniffing around, taking a look at that thing from afar. So taking note of that. Extension news, and this one warms my heart, folks. The Vikings locked up star left tackle Christian Darrisaw on a massive 4-year, $113 million deal. $77 million of that guaranteed to stay in Minnesota. And all I have to say is let's fucking go, baby. We have got one of the best left tackles in the entire league, a man that has drawn Trent Williams comparisons ever since he came out of college, pretty much. We got him locked in to a big-time deal, and your boy couldn't be happier. We got Justin Jefferson locked up now. We have got the man himself, Christian Darrisaw, locked up for the foreseeable future. Things are great over here in the beautiful state of a million lakes, or how many fucking lakes there are in Minnesota. I don't know, 1,000? 10,000. 10,000. That sounds like the right one. The land of 10,000 lakes. That butter. You understand it. Land of lakes. You get it. Yeah, things are great here in Minnesota right now. We're hoping that J.J. McCarthy comes along. Seems like Sam Darnold's doing okay in practice, though. So, hey, things are looking up. Things are looking up. The NFL media is down on us, but if there's anything we know, it's that the media lies, folks. The media lies directly to your face to further their liberal agenda, and that's something that we're going to stick to until, obviously, the Vikings come out and just lay a fat egg. Then maybe we'll change the story a little bit. But until then, the media is telling you lies, and you shouldn't listen to those lies. I'm Caleb, and I approve that message. All right, more holdout news. CeeDee Lamb is not reporting to Cowboys camp in the midst of his contract negotiations. Unlike the Hassan Reddick situation, though, since he is on his rookie deal, if and when he comes to terms with the Dallas Cowboys, he will be able to have all those fines forgiven. So, different situation. The fines are coming, but at the end of the day, the Cowboys can always say no harm, no foul, which is going to happen if and when a deal does get done. But more noise in Cowboys training camp. Trouble in paradise over there for sure. I'm not sure how much of a paradise it is. I mean, it's more like hell on earth down there in the summer. I'll tell you what. I went there in August last year for a little boys weekend trip. Boy, it's like sitting right on the rim of Satan's butthole. It is oppressively hot down there. But obviously trouble in paradise. You got Dak talking in the media about, hey, maybe I move on one day. Maybe at some points I'll have to hit the road and take my talents elsewhere. And then you got CeeDee Lamb holding out of camp right now. Jerry Jones is probably happy because the Cowboys are relevant. However, not a good look for the winning portion of things, which, doesn't warm my heart necessarily. I don't like the Cowboys at the end of the day, but also at the end of the day, it's not the worst thing in the world that all this stuff is befalling old Jerry Jones. We'll just say that maybe he's had it coming. Maybe he's had it coming. It's fun to see chaos down there in Cowboy land, just reaffirming everything we've known for the last 25 years, which is the Cowboys are an average to slightly above average organization who cannot get deep in the playoffs. I don't see that changing, and it makes my prediction feel real good. 10-7 on the horizon for this Cowboys team. Let's root for being right. That's all we can do nowadays, huh? Okay, so more extension news. The Jaguars locked up cornerback Tyson Campbell on a 4-year, $76.5 million extension. And I may have besmirched the good name of Tyson Campbell last week. I think I said like he's all right or something along those lines. Hey, salute to him. I was not familiar with your game. I will be. I apologize from the depths of my being and the depths of my soul to that man for underestimating his game. $76.5 million extension. Good for him, man. Never really got the guarantees on that. Guarantees weren't really forthcoming when the deal was announced, so it seems like something where maybe they're playing a little bit of funny money there at the end of the day. But hey, big money on the top line there for Tyson Campbell. Good young corner and good defensive coordinator that Doug Peterson brought in there. So hey, things to be excited about down there in Jaggy land. Good. Hey, Trevor Lawrence just signed a big deal, huh? Maybe a big step up from him this year coming, huh? Hey. Duval is living life right now. That one drunk lady who got interviewed on the local news a couple of years back, she is having a good time if she's still alive. I'll tell you that right now. Things are good down in Duval, and you keep around another good young player after you re-sign Josh Allen to a big extension during this offseason. Also, second-year cornerback Mekhi Blackman, moving on to the Vikings here, tore his ACL in practice, so things are looking dire on the outside right now. I ain't going to sugarcoat it. I mean, we basically got Byron Murphy, Caleb Evans, and I guess we bring back Chandon. Did we bring back Chandon Sullivan? No. It was a different one. It was a different one. Duke Shelley. We brought back Duke Shelley, which is generally not a good thing. Fan favorite. But, when you're bringing in Duke Shelley, it means things are thin in the secondary. And now, our promising young rookie cornerback, 5th-round pick, but he was playing out of his mind in OTAs. Kyrie Jackson, unfortunately and tragically, dies in a drunk driving accident. Not him being drunk, other person being drunk. Dickhead, we all know that. I don't need to condemn drunk driving on here, though I will. Drunk driving is bad. So there is that. Lose a cornerback there, unfortunately and tragically. And then in training camp, now we lose Mekhi Blackman for the season. Hey, Brian Flores has got his work cut out for him. I'll just say that right now. The safeties have better be playing out of their mind, and Brian Flores better be confusing the hell out of opposing offenses, because boy, they're going to need to this year, man. It is looking thin and scary on the outside, and not in a good and pleasurable way. So that's a situation to monitor. Would make me feel real bad on the inside if something happened more so to any of the players on my football team. Things are bad here in the secondary. Things are bad. Current Raider, former Cowboys wide receiver Michael Gallup is retiring from the NFL at the age of 28. Never quite bounced back after tearing his ACL in 2022. Man, what could have been if he never suffered that injury? Because he got that injury on a insane touchdown grab too. People forget about how good Michael Gallup was early on in his career. I mean, the inside football people, the real junkies like you and me out there, we remember Michael Gallup. When he was before that ACL injury, I mean, he had springs. He could jump out of the gym. He was a great possession receiver, got great separation, probably in line for a big contract extension with the Cowboys if he never sustained that injury. But he sustains that injury, never is quite the same after that, and now retired at the same age as me, 28. And that's a damn shame. That's a damn shame right there. I was very high on Michael Gallup early on in his career, but wish him all the best in the next chapter. Try to look out in the places that you're investing. You could be getting fooled. You could be getting scammed. Shout out Pablo Torre finds out. That was a wild podcast episode last week talking about the athletes going broke and all the terrible investments they've made. So Michael Gallup, hope you're smart with your money. Have a good life. With that, let me just take a quick gulp skaroodle-doo of this Coca-Cola. Who cares? They're never going to sponsor the podcast. Oh, yep, got the gas build up. Man, that was a forceful buildup of gases coming right out of the esophageal cavity. The esophagus, I'm getting too fancy with this whole thing. Either way, we'll keep it moving now. The Dolphins have signed defensive end Emmanuel Ogbah on a 1-year, $5 million deal to fill the gap that Shaq Barrett left. I believe Ogbah was also in town taking in a workout with the Dolphins whenever Yannick Ngakoue was there as well. So they decide that, hey, Emmanuel Ogbah, been with the team before. I believe he was with the team as early as like last year, I want to say. Yeah, bring him back on a little $5 million deal. 1 year sort of, stopgap to kind of fill the void that Shaq Barrett left. I'd say probably a little bit of an upgrade from Shaq Barrett. I don't know how much that Emmanuel Ogbah still has left in the tank, but probably an upgrade over what Shaq Barrett would have given you. So all in all is well in the world. I believe Yannick Ngakoue went from the Dolphins over to the Panthers for a workout afterwards, and I don't think anything ever materialized from that. But hey, bringing another depth pass rusher for the Dolphins, not a bad little pickup there for them. Probably something that they needed at the end of this. The Seahawks, in more extension news, signed safety Julian Love to a 3-year, $36 million extension as training camp opened in Seattle. This is like the same day it opened in Seattle. You sign a big-time player to a big-time contract. This is after, no. It was the Packers that brought in Xavier McKinney this offseason. I apologize. Julian Love is the star safety for the Seattle Seahawks. And they rewarded him big time. Great way to kick off the vibes coming into camp, though. That's my big takeaway from this. I mean, new regime. You still got the same GM, but new coaching regime in there, defensive-minded guy. What better way to get the vibes going than paying one of the stars on your defense good dollar to stick around for the foreseeable future with this new regime? I mean, good way to get this thing started for Mike Macdonald and co. I am so fascinated with the Seahawks this year, man. I thought they nailed it on the head coaching hire with Mike Macdonald. I think they absolutely hit it out of the park with Ryan Grubb at offensive coordinator. So much so that I don't know how long Ryan Grubb is even going to be the offensive coordinator for the Seahawks, because I think he has got NFL head coach written all over him. If that offense looks the way it did in college. Now, he's not going to have overwhelming talent like a Michael Penix Jr., a Rome Odunze, a Jalen Polk, and a Jalen McMillan on his team with an experienced offensive line. There's not going to be some big talent gap like there was in college. But you look at the way that he schemed up the plays that he had. I mean, the way that they were drawn up, just a thing of beauty. Basically, every week there was a couple plays where you said, yeah, I mean, Washington has better offensive talent than every team they're facing, but holy shit, look at the design on that play. It is mind-boggling looking at some of the stuff that he draws up. I think they knocked that out of the park. They got really solid talent on both sides of the ball. Defense is still a work in progress, but I feel like that's also why you bring in a really great defensive mind like Mike McDonald to come in there and kind of fill in some of the holes with the scheme on defense. Offensively, though, I mean, Geno Smith's a perfectly serviceable quarterback. You got a star wide receiver in DK Metcalf. Tyler Lockett is still somehow a highly productive receiver at the NFL level. You got Noah Fant still there, really solid tight end, really great athlete out there. Kenneth Walker in the backfield. You draft Zach Charbonnet in last year's draft. I mean, they've got really good talent on the offense to where I think Ryan Grubb is going to do some real damage this year. But yeah, Julian Love, big signing on defense. I got on a real tangent there about the Seahawks because I am abjectly fascinated with their team this year. But great signing there with Julian Love to stick around. More extension news. We have got the Patriots locking up safety Jabril Peppers on a 3-year, $24 million extension. He has really come into his own since coming over to New England. We'll see what changes here under this new regime. If there's one thing I learned with Zach Arnett at Mississippi State, is that, just because you hire a guy for being really good on defense doesn't mean that defense is actually going to be really good. I believe it was Steve Belichick calling the plays last year and not Gerard Mayo. I could be wrong on that. So again, and Bill Belichick was the one drawing up the defensive game plan. So there's no guarantee that everything is going to be just hunky-dory, look the exact same as it did when Bill Belichick was there. I like the chops on Gerard Mayo. I think he's been training for this job for quite some time. He's been the heir apparent there for quite some time. But at the end of the day, there's no guarantees in this world and in this league in particular. So good signing on its face. Love the value you get for that $8 million a year for Jabril Peppers. Really solid safety back there. Now you got both the safeties locked up with him and Kyle Duggar both signing deals this offseason. But it's a wait and see mode. I think the defense is still going to be great. I think the defense is still going to be a top 10, maybe even top 5 unit in the league this upcoming season. But there's no guarantees. No guarantees whatsoever. I do like the signing, though. I do like the signing. We'll talk more about the Patriots here in just a minute. They had a big loss in their defense, but save it for a few minutes down the line. Doubling back, because I skipped a headline here. Lions kicker Michael Badgley is out for the season after suffering not a strained hamstring, a fully torn hamstring in training camp. That kicking situation is worth keeping an eye on. That's my big takeaway from this is, health, wellness, and wealth, all the accolades over to Michael Badgley and his life going forward. But now the Lions are sitting in a situation where what do you do at kicker right now? I mean, Michael Badgley was the guy that you ended up relying on when he came in last season, and all of a sudden he's not there. Where do you go? Do you sign one of the UFL kickers? I think most of them already got signed this offseason, if I'm not mistaken. Do you take a chance on an undrafted rookie that still hasn't found a team yet? Do you sign someone off the street? And if they do come in and the kicking situation does end up being bad, what do you do from there? Do you keep going through the cycle of kickers here? Do you keep looking for a new guy? And with close games in the NFL, as always happen, with how evenly spread the talent is throughout the league for the most part. When you get into close games and you have to rely on your kicker, how many games are the Lions going to lose because the kicking situation is not up to snuff? These are questions we got to ask now because when you look up in December, January, going into the playoffs, and the Lions are 9-8, 10-7, and you ask, well, how the hell did that happen? It's things like this. You get into a bunch of close games, and you have to rely on kicking and special teams. If one of those two things is not up to snuff, it can cost you games in this league. So that's one to keep an eye on going forward. The Lions roster is really, really damn good, and that's kind of been the case for the last couple of years at this point. Shout out to Brad Williams. Oh, man, I apologize to that man for what I'm doing to him right now. Brad, the GM over at the Lions. Shout out to him for putting together a hell of a team down or up there. But if the kicking situation isn't good, it's absolutely something that can cost you some games. So keep an eye on that. Monitor that. We're going to be looking at who they sign, who they bring in. Do they bring anyone in? Is there already someone that's on the training camp roster that they're just going to roll with going forward? We're going to find out a lot, and it's going to have major implications about this season unless the Lions are just so good that they end up just blowing teams out of the water and don't have to worry about a whole lot of close late game situations. Again, don't think so given the history of the NFL and, well, the history of the Detroit Lions as well, but could always be the case. I could be wrong. Don't think I am, though. Keep an eye on this. This could have real ramifications for the Lions season. So, getting back to the Patriots here, Patriots defensive tackle Christian Barmore was diagnosed with blood clots over the weekend, and there is no timetable for his return. He is out indefinitely. Big thing to keep in mind here, this is the type of thing that ended Chris Bosh's career with the Miami Heat and in the NBA. Different situation, obviously, being in the NBA versus being in the NFL. But it's the same sort of thing. The dude has blood clots. He's been diagnosed with blood clots. I'm sure they're still doing testing, treatment, all that sort of stuff to just, make sure Christian Barmore is okay. But if these things keep popping up, a guy that you just signed to a giant extension this past offseason may end up being unable to play football again. And you hope that doesn't happen. You love to see Christian Barmore out there, but his health is more important. So, I mean, for a defense that I thought was going to be really good coming into the year, having a guy lost like that in the middle, like Christian Barmore, you can't help but think it's going to affect the way that this defense plays. And at this point, I mean, I honestly don't think he's going to play for this season. I feel like when you get diagnosed with those blood clots, maybe I'm taking the Chris Bosh situation too much into account in this one. Maybe I'm reading too much into it, but Chris Bosh got the blood clots, and he was out for the entire season, tried to come back the next season, ended up being out that entire season too because the blood clots recurred. So there's literally no guarantee that Christian Barmore will ever play a meaningful snap of football again with this condition. Again, I hope I'm wrong. I hope he ends up coming back and playing well, and you have your little treatment plan and you stick to that, and it all ends up being good for the future going forward. But that's something to keep in mind here. This is a condition that could linger and could end up being a detriment to both Patriots and Christian Barmore's career and life going forward. So that's a huge bit of news that dropped over the weekend. I mean, you want to talk about a weekend news dump. That was one right there. Huge injury, if you can even call it an injury. It's really a medical condition for maybe the best player on the Patriots defense, who I thought was going to be pretty solid this year. Again, a lot of situations to monitor. That is certainly one of them right there. Up next, getting back to the Lions now. Lions sign offensive tackle Taylor Decker to a 3-year, $60 million extension. 31 of that is guaranteed to keep him or keep the Pro Bowler in Detroit for the foreseeable future. Well-deserved. Obviously, the Lions have an identity, and it's built around that offensive line being one of, if not the best units in the entire league. Keeping a guy like Taylor Decker around, you need to do that. Obviously already paid Penei Sewell earlier this offseason. They've locked up some guys in the interior of that line. So the Lions doing what you got to do in order to keep the identity. You got to pay the piper to make up for those draft picks. Make up's the wrong word. To kind of compensate. Nope, compensate's the wrong word too. When you draft a good player or you bring a good player in, you got to pay that player, unfortunately, and that's what I'm getting at here, about as clumsily as you could possibly get at it. So good stuff there from the Lions. Again, monitoring the kicking situation, but otherwise, front office doing a hell of a job over there. Almost got it again. I don't think it's Brad Williams. I really don't think it's Brad Williams. That doesn't sound right. Brad Johnson doesn't sound right either. That's the quarterback for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers back in the day. I really do apologize. I really do apologize to GM Brad. I should know this. I simply don't, but I should know this. And I apologize to that man. I really do. I really do apologize. Okay, so last headline we've got here before I cut this thing off, start a new recording, and then go over to the NFC South preview. Texans defensive lineman and fellow Mississippi State alum Danico Autry is being suspended for 6 games after getting popped for PEDs this past week. And I lied. I do have one more headline after this, but that's a big deal. That's a big deal. You're not losing him for the entire season, just the first month and a half or so of the season. But that's a big deal. One of their big-time free agency pickups. Obviously, the defensive line is much improved this past offseason with bringing in Danielle Hunter. But not having Danico Autry there as well, they're going to feel it to start the season. I'll tell you that. D'Amico Ryan. Really confusing when you got Danico and D'Amico in the same story here on the same team. I digress on that front. But D'Amico's going to have his hands full scheming around the defensive line there. They're going to be better than they were last year, even with the 6-game loss of Danico Autry here. But definitely going to be a drop-off without Danico Autry in there. He's been one of the most consistent, underrated defensive lineman in the entire league since he came out of Mississippi State. And that's not just me talking as a fellow alum, a little biased, obviously. That's like the real football heads saying, hey, this guy, that's a nerd's favorite right there. A guy that just flies under the radar, does the dirty work, and does it to perfection, pretty much. Those are the types of guys that make great defenses at the end of the day. I think the Tennessee Titans are going to miss not having Danico Autry in the middle there next to Jeffrey Simmons when this season opens up. So, again, situation to monitor. How does this affect the Texans defense? I think it probably drops off a little bit, but how much does it end up dropping off? All questions that are going to be answered in just a short month or so when we kick off the NFL season, baby. Oh, man, I'm vibrating with excitement today again, man. Oh, I need the excitement of football season back, man. Work has been hell, but I'll tell you what, hell in a good way. I'll tell you that right now. Hell in a good way. It's a fun job sometimes, but I need this. I need the vacations I got coming up, and I need this football season to get here as soon as possible. I'm binging Madden right now. I'm fiending. I'm itching my neck. Got the white lips like Tyrone Biggums with the Chappelle Show, man. I'm like, hey, you got any more of them football games coming? Huh? Yeah. I hope that wasn't an insensitive accent there. I'm just, doing a thing right now. But boy, I'm fiending for football right now. I am fiending, I say, for football. One last headline we have got here. This one coming to us courtesy of the Indianapolis Colts, and unfortunately, it is not good news. The Colts are losing defensive end Samson Ebukam. Ebukam? I still have no fucking clue how to pronounce his name, and again, I apologize to that man. Samson Ebukam, they're losing him for the season. He tore his Achilles in training camp, so lo and behold, you drafted one of the better defensive players in the draft this year, whose name is escaping me right now. I hate my life, dude. I truly do hate where my brain is at right now. I wish I had it. I wish I had it off the top of my head. How do I forget his name? He's a pass rusher. He's a very good pass rusher. Am I buying time until I eventually look him up? Laiatu Latu. There it is. Didn't have to look it up. I already had it. Laiatu Latu. I needed to bring that up for the NFC South preview anyways, but there we go. We got it. So this will thrust Laiatu Latu probably straight into the starting lineup to start the season. I think he was probably going to get there at some point anyways. I think your hope was that Samson Ebukam came back and continued to step up from what he showed last year, because he really did emerge onto the scene this past year with the Colts. But Laiatu Latu gets slotted into the starting lineup. I'm telling you now, folks, I think he's going to be a really, really good pass rusher. I don't think you're going to get a whole lot of drop-off losing Samson Ebukam for the season. All the health and wellness and wealth to that man. But this is Laiatu Latu's time to shine. He was going to get this opportunity eventually anyways. You just got it thrust on him a little bit earlier than expected. And I think he's going to be a monster pass rusher from day one. I am really, really high on Laiatu Latu as a prospect. And I'm looking forward to seeing what he does in this, role that has been thrust upon him, but a role that he is going to have to play at the end of the day. It's going to be fun. It's going to be fun watching him work this season. And again, all the health and wellness and good things coming to my man Samson Ebukam. I am also very much looking forward to what Laiatu Latu does in that defense this year. So many things to look forward to. The football season is just right around the corner. You can smell, just waft in that freshly cut grass from the football field, wafting over from that field next to you. Oh, you can smell it right now. The kids are popping pads. Don't question the ethics of, you know, kids playing tackle football in elementary school. Just know that you smell the grass, you hear the pop. Oh, football season's around the corner, folks. It's right around the corner. Training camp is here, and that is it for this episode of Unqualified Analysis. I'm cutting it off now so we can go on over in the next episode and hit the AFC South preview and do that in a amount of time that will not kill everyone in the audience. I'm trying to not have the hour and 45-minute long episode, and that's simply not possible with this NFC South preview coming on the tail of this. So, cutting it off here. Thank you so much for tuning into Unqualified Analysis. We usually do this thing once a week during the off season. We stretch it to twice a week because there's just so much stuff that happened this week. So we got Tuesday episode, then Thursday episode, usually up until the season, just Tuesday. Won't be that way for long. We'll be getting back to the Tuesday, Thursday every week once football season kicks off here at the end of August, beginning of September. Smell the football coming, folks. Smell the football coming. If you enjoy this episode, though, subscribe wherever you're listening to this. I'm talking Apple. I'm talking Spotify. I'm talking YouTube. I'm talking Amazon Prime, even, if you're feeling a little bit lucky out there. So go ahead, subscribe wherever you're listening to this. Share it with a friend. Get this thing growing. We got some solid numbers, kind of tailing off here over the last couple of weeks, but keep it up, folks. Keep on sharing it. We're going to keep punching that brick wall until eventually either we shatter every bone in our hand or we break that fist straight through, folks. And we're just going to keep punching. We're going to keep punching. And you're going to help me keep punching by sharing this thing with as many people as you can, pretty much. Just get the people in the door. That is all that I ask. Outside of that, though, if you want to contact the show, shoot me a DM on Twitter. It's at CalebVUA. If you've been watching on the YouTube, it's been right down here in that corner for the entire episode. So go ahead, hit that follow, shoot me a DM. Let me know what you think. Let me know if there's something you want to add to the show. I'll be receptive. I'll be receptive with that sort of thing. If you want to go the old-fashioned route, though, do have an email address. It's unqualifiedanalysis@gmail.com. Links to both the Twitter and the email will be down in the description. But thank you so much for tuning in to Unqualified Analysis. As always, I have got no clue what I'm talking about. One thing that I learned this week, though, if I can ever get it pulled up here, according to Sportico, the most profitable team in the English Premier League, the most popular team in the world, actually, was Manchester City at $59 million of profit. I believe this was in 2022, I want to say. The least profitable NFL team was the Buffalo Bills at $65 million. The NFL is king, folks. The NFL is king. I'm going to cut it off here. I will see y'all on Thursday for the NFC South preview. Until then, hope you enjoyed this episode. See y'all in a bit. Deuces.